I'm your host, Tyler Rasmussen, and we've partnered up with our friends at PoolPro Magazine to bring you a monthly news and notes segment on all things pool related. Knowledge is power, and by tuning in each month, you will stay informed on what the public and the industry are talking about. Joining us for these segments is PoolPro Magazine's editor-in-chief, Megan Kendrick. With over 10 years' experience writing some of the best articles in the industry, we believe she is the perfect person to notify you on what's going on in the pool world that we know and love so much. Without further ado, let's jump into this month's News and Notes episode.
Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Villafania. And this is the Pool Chasers Podcast.
Hello, Megan.
Hey, Tyler. What's up?
What's up? Just kind of joking about how we're going to intro this podcast since it seems to be the same every time. So
I know. Well, I think we should come up with a really, and I think we should come up with a really formal and serious way to introduce the podcast each time, because I think what's been lacking from our podcast is seriousness. So I think we should really, I think that we need to buckle down and stop laughing all the time and do this like real news professionals.
Yeah. No, that's not who we are. So get used to the laughing.
Is true. Also, I think people need to know that this is like your laugh therapy time.
It is.
I know.
Definitely.
So it's like it's like I was going to say customer service, but that's not really the word I was going for. It is very late right now. Let's just start off with that.
Yes, it is.
This is the latest we've ever recorded.
I asked
and
Megan
then we talked
to postpone it. Yep.
And then we talked for a good 45 minutes before we started.
Yeah. Now it's 11 o'clock her time. So anyways, it's all good. Let's jump into the topics. In the news, Tesla built a swimming pool at one of their supercharging stations in Germany. The video shows the pool actually does exist at Tesla's supercharger station in Hilden, Germany, which is the largest in the country, with 40 stalls, solar panels, and restaurants. Tesla used a large movable container for the pool and basically filled it with water, put a cover on it. People can use it in groups of up to 4 at a time in 10-minute increments. That part's weird. Right? Who's going to monitor? Are you going to monitor me sitting in the pool for 10 minutes? All right, your 10 minutes is up. Get out. And who has a bathing suit in their car to jump? While I charge my car, I'm going to jump into this pool for 10 minutes.
I don't know. It's very perplexing. I feel like this charging station, though, looks very swanky. And so I can see why they wanted to add a pool, because it's like another luxury item for their customers to enjoy while they're charging and having their, fancy lunch.
But 10 minutes? Like, it's not a hot tub. It's like a pool. You hang out with 4 people in a pool for 10 minutes.
I mean, I can see families on road trips thinking this was the best thing ever.
Yeah. I could see that, I guess.
But I don't know anything about where Hilden, Germany is, so I don't know if it's like a big road trip stopover destination.
You got to watch the video, though, because the guy's voice is awesome, and I didn't play it until you played it, and it was like, oh, hello.
It is, it is a strong German accent.
So funny.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if there is a better accent than that, like German.
It's on point.
Yeah. Do you know I took German in high school and in college?
Did you?
I did.
Is that why you get the podcast intro? That's what we should do. That's what you should do every time.
Oh, do it in German?
No, the way you were talking about the other podcast you listened to, how they intro the show. Now we can steal it.
But I was gonna bring it up, but then I was like, is it actually really offensive and I don't know it? Like, am I swearing?
Maybe not.
And I don't really want to bring that vibe to the podcast, so I'm not gonna do it, but only because I'm nervous that it's like.
So what the meaning is? I thought you said you took German.
Yeah, but this isn't real German.
I know.
Everyone's gonna be like, what is she talking about?
Yeah, probably.
Guys, I'm really into Formula One right now, and I listen to Formula One podcast, and that's all you need to know.
Their intro is German, so check it out.
There's a lot of swearing.
There's a lot of swearing. Oh, all right. So apparently, swimming pool squatters is a thing now. and very popular in France. So there's incidents involving people breaking into private gardens or public facilities and using swimming pools without permission. And, it seems like a popular thing in France now. So,
you know what this is about, Tyler?
What's that?
Global warming. It is way too hot. And everyone is like, get me to a pool. I don't care. If I'm wearing clothes, I don't care if I own it or if I'm trespassing. If I see a pool, I am getting in it because it is hot.
Makes sense. I get that. It's kind of funny. The article talks about like what the police can do, and it's basically the police can do nothing because they're getting called too late, and then they show up and the people are already gone. So it's kind of a funny scenario. It sounds like some really mad Karens calling, the neighbors and saying,
for sure.
Hey,
I mean, I don't blame them because, I mean, as we all know, the liability for that is not great.
Right.
If you own that swimming pool, you do not want strangers hopping in at any time.
Right.
Like, people don't do that. People, that's not good.
No.
But yeah, this actually sounds like the police being like,
it does.
Please stop calling us about this.
It does.
I know it's annoying, but there's like, we can't do anything. They're gone by the time we get there.
Right. And it being like a European article, it says like, they leave rubbish. I thought that was funny.
Man, these guys came prepared for like a pool party. It wasn't like a let's take a dip. Oh, no. It was like we're gonna have parties. Yeah. All right, I respect that.
That's awesome. So the Ford House renovates the pool and lagoon. So a 95-year-old pool has been given a new beginning after an extensive 3-year restoration project at the Edsel and Eleanor Ford House. The updated pool and lagoon marked the latest extensive restoration in an 87-acre estate, which was named a National Historic Landmark in 2017. This is what I find the most unique. So, like, they spent a bunch of time trying to find this wooden diving board. So it has an original, like, 14-foot wooden diving board modeled after the one which is used in 1936 on their original pool. And they could only find one vendor that actually made it. So it's made out of 4 pieces of Douglas fir.
Wow.
And it also talks about how they used images and they used family video and all these things to recreate the exact swimming pool from 1920. So it's super cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah, all their memories.
These are like the Fords, right? Like
yes.
Ford Motor Company Fords.
Yes.
Wow. Do you know my mom's maiden name was Ford?
Really?
Not that Ford.
Unfortunately for you, not that Ford.
Truly. Not that Ford.
You didn't inherit the Ford.
Did not.
Estate.
It did not.
But
that's
cool.
Awesome. I love it. I love it when they actually, I mean, I understand the reasons why we don't restore a lot of old swimming pools, sure. But I love it when these projects happen and you can kind of keep some of that history alive.
Yeah.
That's
it took
great.
like 3 years too, so it took a long time.
I wonder who worked on it. Whenever I see this, as someone in the industry, whenever I see these projects, one of the first things I think is like, oh, I wonder who did that project.
Me too. It says sort of in the article, but I didn't want to like misintroduce that person. So
got it. I understand.
It does say some of their names, but I didn't want to
clicking on
say the wrong thing.
No. So I'm worried about swearing, and you're worried about. I'm worried about swearing in German.
I don't want to give somebody the
Tyler's
wrong credit.
Worried about
or not giving somebody credit for what they
did.
So,
right.
anyway.
Yeah. Exactly.
But anyway, it's a very cool kind of. The pictures reflect the old 19 kind of 20s and 30s pictures. So
that's awesome.
Pretty sweet. All right, industry news. Seems like we got some earnings reports.
I know, but you know what? Okay, so we're missing 2.
Sort of.
Yeah, so Leslie's and Latham don't come out until next week. And I thought that if we'd held off, that we would have them all, but we don't. So we want to do them now.
Let's go for it.
Okay, all right. So the earnings reports that we have, which again, we don't have Leslie's or Latham right now. So Pool Corp, record net sales of $2.1 billion, up 15% from Q2 in 2021. Hayward net sales increased by 10% to $399 million. Gross profit increased by 13%. Fluidra sales grew double digit in Q2 over a very strong Q2 in 2021. Pentair, gotcha. I know, right?
That's very vague, but
I'm sure. Well, and like, okay, so this is me like basically
paraphrasing it.
Yeah. So, there's a lot more detail you could look at, which mostly I don't understand. So,
Sure. Gotcha.
So for Pentair, the second quarter of 2022 sales up 100.06 billion, up 13% compared to sales from the same period last year.
Not 100 billion, 1.06.
Oh, did I say 100?
Yes.
Oh man, that would be impressive.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I feel like anything that gets into the billions is impressive, but
yeah.
So the interesting thing about Pentair right now, and from their earnings report call, something that they said was that starting next year, they're going to start reporting in 3 segments. So right now, their pool information is lumped in, I think, with their water solutions. So they're breaking out pool. So it'll be pool, water solutions, and industrial and flow technologies. So that's great for me because, one of the hard things we've talked about with looking at Pentair's earning reports is that they do so much stuff that does not include the pool industry. And so this way we can actually have a better comparison of how their pool segment is doing year over year versus just the company as a whole. So,
sure.
So that is very exciting. Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yep, me too. And again, continues to rise, which is pretty crazy. So
yeah, well, and it's great too because it's like, I know we talked last time about stock prices and that being kind of an issue, but it's like we're still making money and we're still hitting record numbers. So no matter what the stock market says
right.
or what these people's stock do, that has very little to do with what the actual company is doing. These guys are all performing still really well. So that's exciting and that's great.
Yes, it is.
Guess what? We have some new acquisitions. We
Shocker.
haven't had any acquisitions for a while.
That's true.
I know.
Couple episodes since we talked about them.
'Tis the season.
That's true.
Towards the end of the year, all of the acquisition news starts to come out.
Right.
So this was a big one though. So an investment group, Norwest Investment Group, they bought PoolWorks, which is the Australian franchise company. So John O'Brien, he founded PoolWorks over in Australia. So he will stop being the CEO and he'll move to executive director. But yeah, I felt like that was a pretty big one.
I agree. That is big.
Yeah, that's some news right there.
Maybe for America news, but that's really big for Australia. I mean, we have some here, but that's a big one.
Well, and I think that this signals their desire to move even more into North America. So I think that I am speculating here that they kind of felt like they'd grown as much as they could in North America without having a big influx of capital. Hence this move. So
gotcha.
Yes.
And they have a new North American CEO, so it's probably a new different direction.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, Andrew Kidd, he's the COO right now, and he'll be taking over as the North American CEO.
Yeah, be interesting to watch over the next year or two.
Yeah. So this is another one. Arch Amenities, they bought NYS Pool Management. And this is kind of interesting because it's like 2 service companies, but not in the way that we think of pool service, right? Like these are like Arch Amenities. They provide like wellness, amenity, and meeting services for like commercial and residential properties. So hotels and clubs and that kind of stuff. And so they've added NYS Pool Management, which does pool construction and then pool management, including like staffing and lifeguards and operations and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. I mean, like 2 companies that I did not know very much about, but I thought it's like one of those segments of the industry that pops up. I'm like, yeah, there are companies that do that.
Pretty cool. I like that. Our industry is so vast, right? You can so many different avenues. Pretty
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then kind of getting back down to more of our area of the industry. So Economy Pool Service and Supplies, they are in Tucson, Arizona. They bought the assets of L&L Pool Service. So, and I think Economy has bought, I think this is their second acquisition of another pool service company. So they are expanding in Tucson.
Yep.
So this is not an acquisition. We're moving on from acquisition news now. So this I thought was really interesting because this company, Grupo Pedroia, they won an Italian award. Thank you very much. I'm sure that was totally wrong. But they were the winner of the 2022 Leonardo da Vinci Award, which was presented at a ceremony by the mayor of Venice, which just the whole thing just sounds like so fancy and swanky.
Prestigious.
And just, yes, right?
It does.
But the reason why it applies to us in any way, shape, or form is because Grupo Pedroia, they make pumps. Oh. And in 2020, they bought Superior Pump here in the U.S. And so they are starting to grow their presence in the North American market. So that is a company that we will probably be hearing more about. And, next time they're going to win an award in Italy from the mayor of Venice, they can invite me to cover it. I'll be there.
That's true. Yes. Yeah. Yes. The official media team.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure you heard that Orinda, they updated their app.
Yes.
Yeah. So they got a couple of updates in the app that seem like they could be very helpful. They're just trying to make it, I think, a lot more intuitive and to help predict future readings and to kind of help you determine like where the water is going to go from where it's at. So it's really interesting. I have not had a chance to talk to them about this yet, and so I feel like there's still a lot that I don't know about what they've updated to it. But I feel like I don't know. I think it's probably one of the most used apps in the industry. I'm guessing. Yeah, yep. It's pretty handy, and so I feel like anytime they have a big update like this, it is newsworthy.
Yep, for sure.
All right, I got two more. So Camerai, they have introduced a new construction monitoring portal. So if you're a builder, you can set their cameras up and watch your entire construction site. It has all kinds of warnings and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like if you had this, wouldn't you mostly want it just to get a time lapse of your project?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. 100%. Because who does not love watching a good time lapse of a project on social media? I mean, it's like filter cleanings and time lapses. Though that is the content that I want on my feed, right? Yeah.
It's cool they're expanding it. I think Pentair did something with this with their builder app for a while. But you can monitor it through the automation, but it's a cool concept for sure where you can see it, But you're right. I mean, that's what I would want to see when we watch it from beginning to end. Right.
Well, and that's smart from Camerai's perspective too, because it's like, and from builders, because it's like, look, you've already got the safety device here, at your property. Like, you can keep it and use it to keep your pool safe going forward. So there's some really smart, I think, tie-ins back to the consumer. But yeah, I mean, and also it's always nice to have a video record of that guy walking off your job site with whatever tool you left there.
That's a good sales tactic too. I mean, now that you mentioned that, I think, you probably have a better success at selling a Camerai if you sell it from the beginning of the project, right? And then you can use it through the whole thing.
100%. Yeah.
Pretty smart for them, for builders.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think so too. So, because honestly, who isn't going to go out and get a camera at some point and point it at their pool? And this way it's like they have one that actually has the, artificial intelligence and is built to monitor their pool versus just throwing out a Ring camera or Nest camera that isn't smart.
Just picks up motion.
Yeah. So the last bit of new product news is Polaris has come out with a whole new line of above ground pool equipment. So it's a filter, chlorinator, and an automation system engineered for above ground pools.
Look out now.
Hey,
that's pretty cool though. I like that.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think above ground pools can kind of get a bad rap in our industry, but there is a great market for them, and people love their pools, whether they are an in-ground pool that they spent $300,000 on, or an above ground pool that they spent, $20,000 on, or
right.
whatever they spent
Or
on it.
lower.
How much
Yeah.
are those above ground pools? I don't know.
Well, you can get Doughboys for like 2,000 or 2,000 up to, but then you can make them much better.
Well, that's the
Just
thing.
depends on
Like
where you
you
go,
buy,
right?
I feel like very few people buy the pool and just leave it. Like,
Right.
You buy it and then you get the deck around it and
Right.
then you do all the stuff.
Yeah. So you're probably looking, you're right, like more like 20 grand. But, I think, but you mentioned it gets a poor rap, but that's probably mostly because our industry is led by like the South region, right, of California, Arizona, Texas, and Florida, where that's the majority of the pool industry talk. But, above ground pools are very popular in the Northeast. So, it's definitely a thing, and there's definitely a market for it.
Right. Well, and it's like, I mean, you look at some areas of the country where, let's be honest, like you're not going to get, I love those articles that show you like the return on investment you get on your home renovations. And there was, I think a couple of years ago, there was one that was really good that went around about pools. And it was like, you only get your money back on building a new pool, basically in a couple counties in California and Florida. And that was it.
Yeah.
And so like from a financial perspective as a homeowner, you know what? An above ground pool for some people is as good as it's going to get.
Right.
So let's give them the best pool that they can have and the best experience that they can have,
Yeah. And why would you, if you have the money, fine, but why would you invest $300,000 in a pool you get to use for 2 months? It's not really a financially
exactly
great decision if you don't. They do it.
Yes. Well, and I think like, as we know, people purchase pools for all kinds of reasons, and very few of them are driven by like
actually swimming in them.
Well, or very few of them are driven by like, well, I want to like improve my home by adding a pool.
Sure.
Like they're doing it for a lot of other reasons, and I think that's perfectly fine, right? Like you make your home what you want your home to be for you and what works for your family, right?
Yeah.
We know, like no matter what you're spending on it. But yeah, you know what? If that's a above ground pool, then by all means, you should be able to turn that pump on with your phone.
Yes, 100%.
I love it.
So in Arizona, like in Scottsdale, where we're at, I think it's probably the biggest region of people who don't use their pools, and it's such like families use their pools, but like the North Scottsdale, where a lot of the money is, it's literally like let me show you how much money I make backyard, right?
Sure.
It's pretty crazy that they get used twice a year. It's like have all these fancy things, and it's like, do
you think it's because
let me turn on everything and just show
do you think it's because they leave the state in the summer when it's ridiculously hot? Because so when we were first married, we lived in Scottsdale, like not the fancy part of Scottsdale. We rented a little house in South Scottsdale that had a pool, and you better believe we used that pool, because what else were we going to do?
Right. Yeah.
We were poor and we were renting, and we had a pool, so we were going to swim.
I think that's what makes North Scottsdale unique. I just think it's, people just have these bodies of water for no reason other than to show you how much money I make. But anyways.
In my neighborhood growing up, there was 2 swimming pools on our block. Oh. And I'm pretty sure those pools got used less than any pool in North Scottsdale.
You think so?
Oh, I know so, because I could see them from my own home.
Sure.
But anyway.
I don't think you're swimming in North Dakota very often.
You really aren't. You really, really aren't. Sometimes it's still snowing in May, and...
Right. When you have to leave your car running when you go places so it doesn't freeze, I don't think you're swimming in pools.
That's a real thing.
I know.
When I moved to Arizona, people were shocked because I had like an automatic car starter. And it was just like they'd never seen such a thing. But it's like, well, how are you going to start your car when you're in Walmart for an hour?
Right.
Like you got to keep it running.
Right.
They just could not imagine such a thing.
So funny.
Mm-hmm.
All right. PoolPro article.
Well, it's kind of funny that we had the thing about Tesla, because the article I wanted to point out was the small solutions feature that we had on the precast concrete plunge pools.
Okay.
Which I feel like we also included mod pools, even though they're not concrete. They're kind of the same concept, right? Of like the shipping container pools and stuff.
Sure.
And I wanted to do this story partly because I think these pools are super cool. And they just seem like such a great solution. 1 for small backyards, 2 for smaller budgets, and then 3 for an industry that's, backed up and trying to get people in water as quickly as possible. This is just like another option to do that. So anyway, I think they're cool. They look really cool. I would put one in my backyard. I've been trying to convince my parents to put one in their backyard. So yeah, I just think they're fun. So this is kind of a rundown of some of the companies out there and just kind of the trend as a whole.
Very nice. Yeah, I really like the concept too. I think it's definitely a new wave. There's actually 2. When I was doing research for the news stories, there was like 2 new other stories on plunge pools and stuff, and I feel like we've talked about it in the past, so I didn't put it on there. But I think this is a cool concept from the industry perspective. So
yeah, I think
like
so too.
it. I think what happened is Elon read your article, and then he said, "I need to buy one of these and put it in Germany."
Yeah, well, I mean, like once he decided to not buy Twitter, he and I had a conversation. And that's just the direction he decided to go instead.
That's it.
Yeah.
Same amount of money. Anyways. All right. How can we get the magazine?
You can pick up copies of PoolPro magazine at SCP and Superior Pool Products around the country. You can get one sent to your home or office by purchasing a subscription on poolpromag.com. And you can also check out all of our content on our website and our social media channels.
Awesome. Always fun. Thank you, Megan.
Always fun. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to learn more, you can hit the link in the show notes below or visit poolchasers.com. If you'd like to learn more about PoolPro Magazine, pick up the latest issue at your local SCP or Superior and visit them at poolpromag.com. See you out there, Pool Chasers.